In the final installment of the two-part miniseries, why the Arizona Cardinals need to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. Here's the case for that.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner and at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Yesterday's show was fun. I mean, every show is fun, but yesterday's show was fun. Just highlighting the case to be made that the Arizona Cardinals must trade back to accumulate more capital and draft more than 2 players in the first round. I use the example of trading back with Minnesota because it's just the easiest in a vacuum one for the exercise. Go check that out if you haven't yesterday. Today, why the Arizona Cardinals must stay at 4 overall and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. The case for that. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Yesterday, again, the 3 reasons why you can listen yesterday on yesterday's show. And I'll tell you, today, 3 reasons why the Arizona Cardinals must draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 4 overall. And the disclaimer I gave yesterday for the first two segments and what I'm going to give today is if the Cardinals draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, that's good. If the Cardinals trade back, that's good. The Cardinals win no matter what. It's just a matter of what Monti Ossenfort sees as the best fit for sustained success for this roster and this team. Because a GM isn't a head coach. A GM isn't a coordinator. GM is going to be here, if he's good, for 10-plus years. So Monti Ossenfort's goals aren't just for 2024, aren't just for 2025. They're for 2030. They're for 2032. They're for 2033. And what he sees with the Cardinals having the leverage of not only a franchise quarterback, but also 2 first-round picks, 6 picks in the top 96, is what is the best move and moves to be made to put the Arizona Cardinals in a position to succeed for the next decade, not just the next couple of years. So there are 3 reasons why the Cardinals should stay at number 4 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. And this is barring anything crazy happening, barring New England taking Marvin Harrison Jr., or the Chargers moving up and draft, like something crazy happening. This is in a vacuum as an exercise. This or this. Trade back yesterday, stay at number 4, and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. today. The first reason why the Arizona Cardinals should stay at number 4 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the best player in the draft by many people that I trust who are way higher up in the draft world than I am. It's not difficult, but people who are in the upper echelon. He's the best player in the draft. So, when you have the opportunity to draft the best player in the draft, you do it. Very simple. Now, one little wrinkle to this is nothing to do with the Cardinals passing on Adrian Peterson. This has nothing to do with the Cardinals passing on Terrell Suggs. This has 0 correlation to all of the follies that have happened in the history of this organization. 0. It doesn't make sense. It's like starting it's like having a guy on your fantasy football bench that goes nuts one day in week 3, you start him in week 4 because you think it's going to replicate. It's stupid. It's irrespective of the last week. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What happened in the past of this organization has nothing to do with what happens in the future. It's a completely different organization. Or it's trending to be that. So far, so good. It's the best player in the draft. So with that alone, you figure it out. And this isn't basketball. Like, this isn't the one that always comes to mind for me is, well, there's two, but the main one is the Pistons passing on Carmelo because they had Tayshaun Prince and Rip Hamilton and drafting Darko Milicic. It's like, you just find a spot for the really good player. And it's not Greg Oden, them taking Greg Oden over Kevin Durant years later. It's not that because, everybody needs wide receiver talent. Cardinals don't have the best wide receiver room in the NFL. I don't know if you knew that or not. It's probably bottom 5, bottom 7. And even though they have massive needs in defensive line and pass rush and left side of the offensive line, etc., Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in the draft, so you draft him. It's very simple. And it's not just Marvin Harrison Jr., as an avatar, as an entity, as a wide receiver one, is few and far between if he does reach the heights or even 80% of the heights that people expect him to. How many wide receiver ones, bona fide, no doubt about it, wide receiver ones are there in the NFL? Like top tier wide receiver ones. 5, 7, like top. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, I guess Jamar Chase, I guess. Like out of this world, no doubt about it. So if he's one of those, it's worth picking number 4 overall. Plus the Cardinals have 27, so you can fill the need elsewhere. Plus the Cardinals have full reign of their draft picks in 2025. They have all of their draft picks in 2025, I believe. So, if Monti Ossenfort wants to maximize this draft, there's no rule that says he has to stay at 27. Say he wants to get the best pass rusher off the board at the time, 27, moving up to 15. Say he wants to get the best interior defensive lineman and move into the high teens to draft one and give up, one of their thirds this year or, a package for future picks next year. It can be done. The bottom line is the Cardinals have the opportunity, most 99.9% chance, have the opportunity at 4 to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Trevor Sikkema told me, one of my buddies told me, he's a lead draft analyst at Pro Football Focus. He told me that Marvin Harrison Jr. may be the highest graded player he's ever graded, regardless of position. If you have the opportunity to take someone like that, you take him and figure everything else out after. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. If you're confused as to why I'm saying the exact opposite of what I said yesterday, I am making the case today that Marvin Harrison Jr. must be the pick at 4. They shouldn't trade back. Yesterday, I said the opposite. Which one do you like better? Leave it in the comments. Reason number 2 why the Arizona Cardinals must stay at number 4 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll discuss that next as we roll on here. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by the Game Time app. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Doesn't matter. Diamondbacks baseball, Suns, Cardinals, whatever it is, stand-up comedy, theater. They've got so many different concerts. Like Tom Segura is going to be here in November. Game Time app. The coolest part about this is download the app. It's right there. Okay, you pick it up, search your event, search what's near you, whatever it may be. Say, oh, cool, those tickets look good. Click on it. It shows you the vantage point of what you're going to be seeing when you're sitting in those seats after you buy them. So before you buy the tickets, you can see what the vantage point will look like. That's wild. And it's in, the computer, the pocket computer that you call your cell phone. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. This is your mini series. You can't call 2 episodes a mini series. Making the case for the Cardinals trading back and the Cardinals staying at 4 and drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Yesterday was trade back. It was fun. Today, stick at 4, really fun. Because, let's be honest. What's the more fun option? What's the more popcorn, touchdowns, jersey sales? Let's draft the Marvin Harrison Jr. Does that make the best and most balanced roster? Maybe. But it's most fun. And it's not just about his talent on the field. From everything that we've seen, seems like a very humble young man, exemplary at his craft. Could be a lot worse. He's just an absolute stud. Reason number 2, why the Cardinals must stay at number 4 and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, very straightforward. Kyler Murray needs a wide receiver 1. And while he had a wide receiver 1, the head coach didn't know what to do with said wide receiver 1 in DeAndre Hopkins. Hollywood Brown is not a wide receiver 1. I'm sorry to bring it to you. He ain't. He's not. Kyler Murray needs a wide receiver 1. And this is a perfect time in Kyler Murray's career where they draft a wide receiver 1. He's going to be 27 when the year starts. He's in, come on. Barring any injury and performance, a quarterback's prime is 12 years, 13, 14 years. It doesn't matter. Barring any sort of injury, and if he wants to, he could play another decade. This isn't what it used to be with quarterbacks. So you get a 21, 22-year-old on a rookie scale contract. It's 150 or 170, 180 targets a year. And you have Kyler Murray throwing in the ball. Could be a lot worse. Kyler Murray plus one little thing, I go off. All tangent from squirrel from time to time. BJ Ojolari. So here's the thing about number 18. Caroline Fenton from Lockdown LSU joined me right after the Cardinals drafted BJ Ojolari out of LSU. Number 18 is very significant in the LSU, in the realm of LSU. 18 is the everything guy. 18 is the jack of all trades, master of many. And that is a very important, thing to wear on your jersey on game day. So I wonder if BJ Ojolari will give it up or not. But we'll see. Anyways, Squirrel, we're back. And we're back. And we're back. Kyler Murray plus whatever Marvin Harrison Jr.'s number is going to be. Immediate, just. I cannot open my eyes big enough because I want to see every blade of grass every time they're on a field together. Practice, minicamp, game, doesn't matter. On top of that, that unlocks the rest of the offense. Imagine the offense. James Conner, RB2, whatever it is, we're not doing that right now. Trey McBride, Michael Wilson in his second year, Greg Dortch in the slot as the burner in the slot. And Kyler Murray? Giddy up. It's no longer top heavy. It's no longer Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, James Conner. The floor will raise exponentially, obviously, when they bring in a wide receiver talent like that. The electricity of this offense can be built sustainably. And not just what veteran receiver are they going to trade for. And hopefully DeAndre Hopkins will stay afterward. Let's be different. Well, we'll see. It's still the Cardinals. Stop. It'll be different. It looks different. If you can't see that it's different now, I'm sorry. You are so ingrained in the... I call it Stockholm Syndrome, but Stockholm Syndrome is usually with a captor. The captor is the folly that's been the Arizona Cardinals organization for the majority of its existence. That's the captor. Break free. See what things are doing. See what's happening now. It's the right time to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. They have defensive line needs. They have pass rush needs. But in the day and age of offense, draft the best receiver that some are saying in the last handful of years, decade. Draft him. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, James Conner in no particular order, with Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch playing backup dancers. Yahtzee. The offensive line is improved. It doesn't have to be great. They brought in Jonah Williams. They still have 27 overall. Could draft Graham Barton there. Shore up the offensive line. Give Kyler Murray some more time in the pocket to be able to see Marvin Harrison Jr. not only across the middle, deep routes. It doesn't have to be all timing routes when Kyler Murray actually has time in the pocket to survey the opposing defenses and their coverages. So, if you can lock up a wide receiver 1 for Kyler Murray, that is a set and forget situation. The wide receiver room automatically goes from second or third worst to best position group on the team. Future pacing, obviously. We'll see what the impact he can make, in year 1, where he actually has bracketed coverage, I'd assume, to be a safety over the top, watching him at all times, depending on what the offense looks like with Drew Petzing. But I feel like with this offense, and while I've stated much of the time that may not need a wide receiver 1 to go, you run the ball, you run play action, you got Trey McBride, you can bring in some B-level wide receivers or draft a couple B-level wide receivers, and it'll work the same. Having Marvin Harrison Jr. starting to build a relationship with Kyler Murray as his rookie quarterback, that should send shivers down the spine of all defensive coordinators across the NFL. He's the best player in the draft. Kyler Murray needs a wide receiver 1, plus it'll unlock this offense. What about the third reason? What's the third reason, as I make my case for the Arizona Cardinals to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4 and pass on trading back and accumulating more first-round picks this year and for the future? I'll wrap it up on our little mini-series here. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets. Your bracket's busted, my bracket's busted. But FanDuel's got you covered with all the other options surrounding March Madness. You can bet on every game. We're getting down. Last couple teams. Super exciting. And whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed to take home the trophy, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet college hoops until they cut down the nets. This has been fun. You know what? And I thank you, everydayers. I thank you who on Twitter brought this out of me. This is not how I was going to start the week. I had so many other things. I had to guess I had to bump to Wednesday. So I got to do it now. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for being here. Yesterday, I made the case for why the Cardinals must trade back and forego the opportunity to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Why it was the best for the future of the team. I give 3 reasons. Today, I'm making the case for why the Cardinals must draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4 overall, and the 3 reasons why. Number 1, he's the best player in the draft, regardless of position. Number 2, Kyler Murray needs a wide receiver 1, and it'll unlock this offense. And number 3, and this is the most irrational of the 6 reasons. 3 yesterday and 3 today. It'll be fun. The fans deserve it. The fans deserve their next star. And not just on the field, from everything. Interviews, how he carries himself on game day. Marvin Harrison Jr. seems like the entire package. Larry Fitzgerald meant more to this state than probably, I don't want to offend anybody by leaving it, than any other athlete that play the four majors in men's sports. I'm talking about male athlete. Probably. I know you've got your Shane Doan, your Shane Doan hockey lovers. I know you got your Luis Gonzalez, but homegrown, drafted by, retired as Larry Fitzgerald. It's time for the next one. And while nobody's going to be Larry Fitzgerald, more than likely, Larry Fitzgerald, especially with the quarterback play that they had, an argument can be made that he's the second best receiver of all time. I think the numbers show it. Randy Moss obviously is there, but he had Tom Brady throwing him the ball. He had others that were really good quarterbacks throwing the ball, Dante Culpepper, etc. Larry Fitzgerald didn't have that. It would make State Farm Stadium be filled with more Arizona Cardinals fans than opposing teams' fans again. And I think it would happen seemingly overnight. Season ticket holders would not sell their tickets nearly as much. The entertainment portion of the game of football would be at a height that may have never been experienced by Arizona Cardinals fans as pertaining to their team. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., must-watch TV. Is it the best to build a roster? Don't know. Does it matter? No. You get your franchise quarterback, a wide receiver one, especially somebody who is just so down to earth. His dad, and anybody around my age would remember Marvin Harrison. And that's the best part. Let me say, so Marvin Harrison was the wide receiver one to Peyton Manning. They won a Super Bowl. They shattered every record that have now since been, one quarterback, one receiver, that will get overtaken at some point. Some have already. It's quiet. Did his job. They worked out together. The amount of reps that they must have partaken in together outside of practice time and outside of game time, just on their own. You can't fake that rapport. You can't fake that relationship. Marvin Harrison Jr. is very quiet, a humble guy. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the same way, his son. And the best part about Marvin Harrison Jr. is, first off, I talked with Mina Kimes about this last week. I don't know how many 21-year-olds know who Marvin Harrison is. Obviously in Indy, depending on where you live and things like that, but if you ask somebody to point out Marvin Harrison, just, I don't know, on a picture of whatever, the 50 top receivers of all time, point out Marvin Harrison, I don't know if they can do it. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is doing this on his own merit. He's not doing it out of name recognition. This isn't Dez Bryant Jr. This isn't Odell Beckham Jr. These aren't big names from people guys. This isn't Terrell Owens Jr. That's the best example. This isn't Terrell Owens Jr. T.O. is top 5 receiver of all time. So who knows if the receiver, his son, is as good as the name recognition would be. Marvin Harrison Jr. has done it on his own merit. And his dad played in the NFL. He's the whole package. So while it may seem, quote unquote, irrational to have the outlook on it it's going to sell jerseys, it's going to fill the stands with Cardinals fans because they've been yearning for a star receiver to cheer for since Larry Fitzgerald's left. They have the opportunity to draft one. Humble like Larry, stud in college like Larry. And if they don't, rational or irrational, it'll be much more difficult for fans to get behind a team that could have had Marvin Harrison Jr. and passed. It's the best player in the draft. Kyler Murray needs a wide receiver one / it'll unlock this offense. And the fans want their next stud wide receiver that Larry Fitzgerald passes the torch to. Those are the three. Now, I've got 2 minutes here. So if you've never watched or listened to Locked On Cardinals, you listened to yesterday, you're like, oh, let's see what happens tomorrow. And you hear, I am doing this defending both sides. Because I feel like, listen, if you ever want to be taken seriously with a stance that you have, you need to be able to argue the other side. Otherwise, it's just ignorance. So I did both. What do I think is best still? I'm like 52-48 trade back. But me doing like full, no BS, full introspection, when I was doing this show for the last whatever, I don't edit these videos. Like if I miss, whatever, like I'll do little things, but with things that I say, I talk over myself a lot. Like that was dumb, things like that. Like I want to keep it in because I want you to know who I am and how my brain works and how imperfect I am. Midway through the second segment, I was like, oh my God, they should draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I like convinced myself in the middle, like, oh my gosh, that's the right move. So I think before recording this, I was like 60-40 trade back. Now I'm like 53-47 or 54-46 trade back. I convinced myself that Marvin Harrison Jr. is the right choice. Or at least I got closer to that line where I'll believe that. But all joking aside, both sides, the Cardinals win. More than likely. We don't know. Could Marvin Harrison Jr. be a bust? I mean, I find it hard to believe, but we've seen crazier things. Kind of. I don't know. That'll be up there. Could the Cardinals just whiff on 2 out of their 3 draft picks if they do trade back? Yeah, all of these things. But those things cannot be an argument for what the calculated decision is. You can't look at the result and have that. Well, I guess you can. But with this argument or with this conversation, you can't say, yeah, but they could be bust. That's lazy. You need to look at what the most calculated thing is. Say the Cardinals trade back and they hit on 3 first-rounders. Cool. That strengthens the argument. Say they trade back and they miss on all 3, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Hall of Famer. That shadows the argument. You need, this is how I look at it. So you can't think of the result. With all of these things, especially the draft, Monti Ossenfort just needs to make the decision that positions the Cardinals with the best chance of becoming better after this draft is over. That's it. That's all you can do. The rest is up to things outside of everybody's control. Well, it's in the control of the coaches and things like that, but, it's Monti Ossenfort come draft night. Just needs to make the best decision to position the Cardinals for the best chance to succeed. That's it. And it's up to him. It's up to Jonathan Gannon. It's up to Dave Sears. It's up to Michael Bidwell. We'll see what happens. This has been fun. Thanks for hanging out. If you didn't listen to yesterday's, go check it out. I did the complete opposite of what I did today. I think it's a fun exercise, and I'm happy you're here to witness it with me. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.